An NBC News exclusive. I go one-on-one with James Comey.
Breaking news. Jim Comey.
James Comey.
FBI Director James Comey has
formed FBI Director James Comey.
We're here with James Comey, the former director of the FBI. Now, Mr. Comey, as this is going to be shown to high school students, what is an experience you had in high school that you think really put you on the path to your career?
Actually, I'm not sure. I never imagined being in law enforcement when I was in high school. I wanted to be a doctor.
Really?
And so I studied sciences, took AP Chem, took AP Physics, Calculus, because I thought that was what I would be best suited to do and help other people. That was a big thing for me when I was a kid and stayed with me throughout my life.
How did you find out that you wanted to go on this path?
In college, by accident, I saw a course I wanted to sign up for. I was on my way to a chem lab and I saw the word death on a bulletin board. So I stopped, and it was a class called Death in the religion department. I thought that's kind of cool. So I took it, and that led to one ethics class, another religion class, then a philosophy class, and I realized chemistry is not really my thing. That was my major, and maybe I'd be more useful to people doing something else, and I decided that was become a lawyer.
So especially for high schoolers who are still trying to figure out what to do, what advice would you give them as they're figuring it out?
The only thing you need to know when you're in high school is what kind of person you want to be. That too much specificity in career path when you're young doesn't make any sense, because you'll find you like different things, and then all kinds of accidents will happen that will take you in different directions. If you know the end point, what kind of person do I want to be at the end of my life, you'll be fine swerving on the way to that, and you'll be happier because you will find something that suits you better than if you're forced to choose when you're in high school.
That's true. And then, especially if a student already knows and want to work in government has become a lot more intimidating as time goes on. What would you tell students who maybe have been put off by government or political work?
We need you. We need people who care about making a difference, all across the political spectrum, who care about the truth, who care about restoring integrity to our institutions. So first, I tell you, we need you. And second, I would tell you, there's no more fulfilling work than doing work that is for the benefit of other people. Money's a fine thing, but money will not make you happy. I know a lot of unhappy rich people. What will make you happy is making a difference, and there's no better place to do that. There's other places to do it, but no better place than in public service.
So earlier you told us that you used to be a lawyer. Do you have any advice for people who are wanting to study law or anything?
I do. Don't become too narrow. Right? Law is a professional training course. You spend 3 years learning how to be a lawyer. You'll be a better lawyer if you become a broader thinker before then. So study as much as you can, as widely as you can. Psychology, archaeology, philosophy, sciences, broaden yourself, and then law will naturally narrow you a little bit, but you'll be better for having done that broader tasting before.
Yeah, that's so true. And switching gears a little bit, obviously media has become a huge part of politics. How does the attention in media, specifically, how do you cope with the negative sides of media?
You can't pay too much attention to it. I've been criticized a fair amount, and so you can't shut the doors to it entirely, because you could be wrong. Mm-hmm. And so you want to make sure you let enough criticism through, but not so much that it just overwhelms you. You could end up lying on the floor. And so listen enough to figure out whether you're missing something, and then all the crazy stuff, just close the door. But media you are so lucky because you're growing up in an age when media is messy and diverse and kind of cool. I mean, when I was a kid, when I was your age, there were 3 news anchors on the news shows in the evening, and those were the 3 white men who told us what was important for us to know. Mm-hmm. You have the ability to comb the entire world and hear about anything from anybody, and that's a pretty cool thing.
Definitely. You said media, you were lucky. You were lucky to have it. In what ways do you think? Because obviously, from teenagers, it's all we know, but we can forget that we are lucky. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Because you have more power now than the media does. When I was a kid, I would find out what a few newspapers or a few TV news editors decided I should know. You can now find whatever you want to know. And you can set up your life to give you different points of view, different kinds of news, and you can get it whenever you want to on your mobile device. And so that's an amazing thing. Now, it can trap you into a really narrow bubble where you set up your feeds only to say things that you already believe. That's dangerous, but you're smart enough, the kids today are so smart, they can resist that and set up a diversity of views that help them see the world whenever they want to and see it through many different lenses. I couldn't do that when I was a kid.
I've worked with officials of very high esteem. Like,
Yeah.
What have you learned from that?
That they're very different. I was up close with 3 presidents, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Donald Trump. They're very different people. The first 2 had a lot in common, though. They understood the danger in their job that people won't tell them the truth. And so they would work hard to kind of flatten the hill. The president sits at the top of this really steep hill, and everybody speaking to the president is kind of shouting up a hill. And that can cause people to hide and keep the truth from the president. So both of those leaders would use humor to try and flatten the hill and relax people. My favorite story in sitting in the Oval Office was one morning, it had snowed in Washington, and as I'm waiting to go see the president for a daily briefing on terrorism, I could see they had shoveled a big square on the south lawn of the White House. The helicopter was going to come and get the president. And news people were walking out towards that square as I went into the Oval Office. And as I'm talking to the president, I hear rotor blades from a helicopter approaching, and all of a sudden President Bush holds up his hand and says, "Wait a minute, Jim, I want to watch something." And he looks out the window to the south lawn, and the helicopter comes down, and the air from the blades covers all the news people with snow. So they look all like snowmen and snowwomen. And he holds his hand, and he goes, "Okay, go."
So cool.
And he was doing it to try and find some fun and some humor in his day, which had the effect of relaxing all of us who are sitting in the Oval Office, because otherwise you're very tight and nervous. And as a leader, for him, it increased the chances that we would relax enough to tell him what we really thought.
That's important. Do you think, obviously, you've been, like I said, in high positions, have you relaxed?
You know, I learned to relax. Going to the Oval Office or the Situation Room became a common thing for me. But I remember the first time I was there in the Oval Office to brief the president, I was struck by a reaction that surprised me. And my reaction was, "Oh my God, it's just us." I always thought when I got here it'd be somebody better than me and these people. Not that they're bad, but they're regular people. The people who lead our country, who lead the entertainment industry, who lead the media, they're just people like us. They're people who worked hard and got lucky breaks, but they're not different in any important way. And so that was odd that I thought that, but it also helped me relax and realize these are just people trying to figure it out.
As far as we talked about your career, what do you think, looking back, and obviously there's so much more to go, but has been your biggest accomplishment or success, or what you're most proud of?
I loved being part of reducing violent crime, the murder rate in Richmond, Virginia, when I worked there as a prosecutor for 6 years. There was a plague of violence, especially in the poorest neighborhoods, and we worked really hard to try and rescue those neighborhoods, and we made a big difference. And that's the work I enjoyed the most, and that I'm proudest of.
What would you credit that success to? What do you think really made that your biggest?
A coalition, not just law enforcement, local police and federal agents like we were, but also the engagement of the community, especially leaders in the black community, which is where the violence was happening, clergy and elected leaders and all different kinds of prominent people and regular folks came together to try and rescue a neighborhood that was plagued by violence. That's what made the difference.
Bringing people together.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that can help in all aspects, especially in politics.
All of human life is about relationships, and one of the things that you all can show adults is how hard it is to hate up close. And my kids, like you, are so aware of diversity and of difference and so welcoming of it in a way that older people struggle with. Older people have to realize if you get up close and see somebody who's different, it's hard to hate up close. And the more closeness you have, the more connection you have, the less hate there'll be and the more we'll be able to do together.
Definitely media has brought us together and been able to show us different sides of each other.
Yeah, I feel like it was like I feel like it's both like a good thing and a bad thing. What's like one like good aspect of media?
Good aspect of media is your ability to see the truth if you want it. The bad aspect of media is all of our brains are governed by this powerful confirmation bias, right? I crave things that tell me I'm awesome, that are consistent with what I already believe. I could set up my world I could set up Twitter, I could set up Instagram, I could set up Facebook to feed me only things that I already believe, and that's dangerous. And so it's tremendous in that we can open ourselves up to the world, but we can also narrow it to a very, very small piece of the world.
And then, obviously, I talked about the sickness you had. What have you learned from making mistakes in your position? Because as high schoolers, I think we get wrapped up in those. How do you learn from them and keep going?
By realizing that everybody's faking it, right? There's this imposter complex that we all have. Every single one of us has this sense that if people really, including me, if people really knew me, they would think less of me. And it can become disabling, right? It can overwhelm you, be afraid to raise your hand in class or to make a mistake. What you have to realize is we're all imposters. We're all faking it to one degree or another. And that should let you, I hope, relax and accept the fact you're going to screw up. I've screwed up a million times. That's what it means to be human. And no one is better than you. They may be hiding that they're genuine in a way that you don't. Better not to hide, to be open and honest with yourself and with other people.
What's some of the best advice you've ever gotten?
To remember that the most important question you have to ask is the one you'll ask at the end of your life. Who do I want to have been? And someone once said to me, you always have to write your sentence. And when I teach, I actually have students write their sentence on an index card. And I tell my class, don't give it to me, just keep it. The sentence is the answer to that question. This is how I want to be described at the end of my life. And the reason that matters so much is so many things distract us. Popularity, money, fame, human honor, all kinds of striving gets in the way. And if you answer the question from the end of your life, it blows away all the stuff that will obscure your view of what matters. I think Albert Einstein said young people should try not to become people of success, but to try to become people of value. What you value is clear if you look at it from the end of your life backwards. And so the best advice I've ever gotten is write that answer to that question. Who do you want to have been? And then use it as your North Star to help you figure out what you want to follow. Lift your eyes from the classes you're taking and everything and look at that North Star and say, you know, when my life is over, that's who I want to have been. So how do I get there?
That's important. That's awesome. And
That's
then
some really good advice.
ending this a little bit, we have a big election coming up. I've heard so many of my friends and fellow students say, I don't want to vote for numerous reasons, but the biggest one I've heard is because my vote won't make a difference. How do you respond to that and encourage high schoolers to get out and vote?
You can't possibly think that because we get the leaders we deserve. Sometimes we get the leaders we deserve because not enough people voted. Sometimes we get the ones we voted in. But we're going to have leaders regardless. Far better for you to participate in choosing them than letting other people who may not be as smart as you are choose them. Voting matters. Maybe there won't be a close election in your state, but participating in voting forces you to think about the things that matter and makes you better even if your vote doesn't become the one that decides the election. And the other thing is, you can't complain about who our leaders are if you didn't vote.
This is true. And kind of going off of that, for younger students or even people who still can vote, how do we get involved in government when we feel like we're not at the age or we don't have the influence?
Easy. Plenty of ways to volunteer in your community, in your county, in your state. Lots of ways to participate in political campaigns as a volunteer. Again, I don't care what side people choose, but they should try to get involved. Knocking on doors, handing out literature, both because that's fun and good, and it forces you to engage, and it will inspire others too. Like I said, if you think the world is screwed up, I'm not going to argue with you much, but I'm optimistic because of you. You are going to fix that. And the way in which you take the first step to fixing it is, get involved.
Also very true. And then as we're nearing the end of this, is there anything else you want to add to high schoolers watching this?
Maybe one thing, if I could talk to myself back in high school, I'd say, you know what, don't worry so much about what your peers are doing. Peer pressure is an incredibly powerful force in high school. And you know what, it goes away and it doesn't matter much. Write the sentence, who do you want to have been, and then stick to it. And all the peer pressure and all the popularity in the world will not matter in the long run. It's not that big a deal.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. It was
Yeah,
nice to meet
thank
you.
you both.
Thank you so
Yep,
much.
Yep, thanks for coming.
Thank you.